I think an explanation of the motivations behind the people who make these disclosures that are outside of the democratic model.
An ex-CIA employee reveals he exposed details of a secret U.S. program that monitors internet users and phone records. The Philippine Navy deploys a gunboat and surveillance plane to Tubataha after a Vietnamese vessel is allegedly spotted there. And North and South Korea hold official talks for the first time in more than 2 years. Hello, I'm Maria Ressa. Welcome to Rappler, your social news network. A 29-year-old U.S. government contractor says he is the source who leaked details of a vast secret U.S. program to monitor internet users and phone records. Edward Snowden admits his role in a video interview posted on the website of The Guardian. Snowden was a former technical assistant for the CIA and worked for a company outsourced by National Security Agency for the past 4 years.
I think that the public is owed an explanation of the motivations behind the people who make these disclosures that are outside of the democratic model. It goes, this is something that's not our place to decide. The public needs to decide whether these programs and policies are right or wrong. And I'm willing to go on the record to defend the authenticity of them and say, I didn't change these. I didn't modify the story. This is the truth. This is what's happening. You should decide whether we need to be doing this.
On Saturday, the Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, confirms the NSA uses a program called PRISM to gather data trails left by targeted foreign citizens using the internet outside the United States. The Guardian's report also says a separate program is used to collect the telephone records of millions of Americans. President Barack Obama and the Chief of U.S. Intelligence say the secret programs are necessary to keep Americans safe. Obama says America is, quote, going to have to make some choices between balancing privacy and security to protect against terror. Civil liberties and privacy groups raise alarm at both programs. Some even brand them Orwellian and possibly unconstitutional. The Justice Department says it launched a probe into the disclosures but declined further comment. U.S. lawmaker Pete King calls for Snowden's extradition to the United States, saying he must be prosecuted, quote, to the fullest extent of the law. Internet service providers deny they had given the government free access to customer data unless compelled by law. The Supreme Court dismisses the petitions of 23 party list groups which applied for accreditation but were disqualified from the May polls. The High Court orders the petitions dismissed for being, quote, moot and academic. The petitions of 7 other party list groups are remanded back to the poll body to determine if they can be accredited. Camarines Representative-elect Leni Robredo dismisses the disqualification case filed against her by political rival Nelly Villafuerte as, quote, a desperate attempt to keep the Villafuerte family in power. In a statement Monday, Robredo dismisses allegations she accepted donations from non-Filipino citizens. Villafuerte filed a complaint 10 days after elections, accusing Robredo of soliciting donations from at least 7 American nationals and 3 American entities. Section 96 of the Omnibus Election Code prohibits soliciting donations from foreign sources. Villafuerte says Robredo received support from Loida Lewis, a naturalized American citizen. Villafuerte adds Lewis could not cite the dual citizenship law in defense of Robredo because Lewis acquired her American citizenship before the enactment of the law. But Robredo says Lewis is a natural-born Filipino citizen. She says Lewis testified she only accepted donations for Robredo's campaign from fellow Filipinos. If found guilty, Robredo could face possible disqualification and imprisonment. 10 days after the deadly May 31 blast in Tuxarendra, Interior Secretary Mar Rojas says it's still too early to tell who is liable for the blast. In a press conference Friday, Rojas says a liquefied petroleum gas leak caused the explosion. But in a television interview Monday, he adds, quote, as of now, we have no indications of who's at fault. Rojas says Ayala Land cannot be held liable for the explosion for now. Ayala Land is the developer of Surrender and has a stake in Bonifacio Gas Corporation, or BGC, provider of centralized gas in Global City. Roxas says the investigation team will check the building's maintenance, safety devices, and renovations done at the site of the blast. Investigators will also check if the gas is odorless. An odorant is usually added to LPG to detect gas leaks by smell. A source familiar with the probe tells Rappler the centralized gas used in Tu Surrendra is odorless, but another source who is part of the crime scene team says it is, quote, not yet established the LPG in Surrendra has no smell. Roxas says the government will bring in independent international experts to help the Energy Department with the probe. The Philippine Navy deploys a gunboat and a surveillance plane to the Tubataha Reef after a Vietnamese fishing vessel was allegedly seen there. Park Superintendent Angelique Songco says Marine Rangers saw the vessel at the Marine Sanctuary Saturday and asked for the Navy's help after a failed chase. She says authorities suspect it was a Vietnamese vessel, but adds the Navy failed to find or identify the boat. The Vietnamese embassy spokesman in Manila could not be reached for comment Monday. The incident is the latest in a series of accidents in the marine protected area. In January, a U.S. Navy minesweeper ran aground on the reef, triggering a public outcry. In April, a Chinese fishing vessel also ran aground on the reef, causing even more damage. Shell International's chief political analyst, Dr. Cho Kong, discusses energy outlooks, which explore what the global energy system will look like over the 21st century. The energy company releases the New Lens Scenarios Outlook, which uses two lenses to imagine what the future holds. In the first scenario, called Mountains, nation-states address three key challenges: governance, reforming the economic models, and climate change. The second scenario, Oceans, deals with these challenges through a new form of people power enabled by technology. Kong says both scenarios demand change.
To me, and let us be very clear, I have these two scenarios, mountains top-down, oceans bottom-up.
Right.
But both scenarios require change.
Okay.
So it's not that one scenario is about the status quo and the other scenario,
Yes.
the other scenario is about change. Both scenarios require change, but with the understanding that in a mountains world, you're changing, but within the spirit of wanting to preserve as much as possible of what you carry from the past,
the status quo, right.
your inheritance from before. An oceans world is about going with the flow. It's about a multifaceted, liberalized, globalized world filled with all sorts of opportunities and threats. Remember
Kong says the need for reform is a main issue that needs to be addressed on a global level.
Everyone needs to reform. The point is your economic model, is your governance model past its sell-by date? If so, you do need to think seriously about how to make it relevant for today, how to make it work. This is very important.
From Future Watch, we go to the weather. Pag-asa officially declares the beginning of rainy season in the Philippines. The Weather Bureau does this after the consistent, quote, southwesterly to westerly wind flow, high humidity, presence of rain clouds, and the daily occurrence of rain showers and thunderstorms. Pag-asa says expect enhanced rainfall over the country, especially in the western section. In its 4 p.m. bulletin, Pag-asa says Tropical Storm Dante, international name Yagi, was estimated at 1,295 kilometers northeast of Basco, Batanes, with maximum sustained winds of 85 kilometers per hour near the center and gustiness of up to 100 kilometers per hour. It continues to move away from the country. A veteran journalist launches a book on the abuses of bishops and priests. The book, Altar of Secrets, is the first of its kind in the Philippines. Paterno Esmaquel reports.
Terzo, confessare.
In the Vatican, Pope Francis denounces the hypocrisy of priests, admonishes intolerant Catholics, and says prelates should become shepherds and not collectors of antiques and novelties.
Why write a book on the Catholic Church?
In the Philippines, veteran journalist Aris Rufo launches a groundbreaking book called Altar of Secrets. The first of its kind in the Philippines, the book exposes the sexual misconduct, political interference, and financial mismanagement by bishops and priests. These include investigative stories on a high-ranking prelate who fathered a child and later resigned, and on multi-million peso donations to Radio Veritas that remain unaccounted for.
I don't know whether you contacted the chairman or not, but that was
That's a lie, Bishop. Who told you that?
The office.
The book also includes some of Rufo's most heated discussions with Catholic bishops.
So if I will ask for all the donations received for all the calamity victims and all the disbursements, will you be able to give it to me?
Well, we ask first. I think we have the right to ask also. Why?
For publication.
What
for
for?
transparency.
What for?
For transparency.
Are we?
Bishop Jesse Mercado is accused of mishandling funds donated to the church for typhoon victims. The book comes at an interesting time for the Catholic Church. It's published during the papacy of Pope Francis, who urges the church to engage in some self-criticism. The book Altar of Secrets does exactly this. It exposes the shortcomings of bishops and priests. But the book's author, Aris Rufo, says the book is meant not to destroy the Catholic Church, but to help rebuild it. Rufo says while the church is divine, the book focuses on its human weaknesses.
Are we out to destroy the church? Of course, the answer is no. How can one book destroy a church that has been in existence for more than 2,000 years? As my favorite Archbishop Oscar Cruz said, the church has been there for 2 millennia. There must be something divine in it to survive that long. Which is true, actually.
By writing about these, Rufo demands accountability from the Catholic clergy.
Not only are they accountable to the people, but also to a higher source from where they draw their moral responsibility.
Veteran journalist Miriam Grace Go says Altar of Secrets can strengthen the Catholic Church.
But let us assure you that Aris is somebody who loves his church, the Catholic Church, but it's a tough love. How else can you fix it and make it stronger and more effective in serving and ministering to the flock? But by cleansing it.
Now it's up to church leaders to turn the Altar of Secrets into an altar of accountability. Paterno Makel Rappler, Manila.
North and South Korea hold official talks Sunday, the first in more than 2 years after months of military tension and threats of nuclear war. The working-level discussions are held in the border truce village of Panmunjom, where the armistice ending the Korean War was signed. Seoul's Unification Ministry spokesman Kim Hyung-sok says the overall atmosphere was calm and the discussion proceeded with no major debate. The two sides seek a framework for their first ministerial-level meeting since 2007, tentatively scheduled in Seoul on Wednesday. The agenda will focus on restoring suspended commercial links, including the Kaesong Joint Industrial Complex, the North shut down in April. Sunday's talks come after North Korea proposed opening a dialogue on Thursday. South Korean President Park Geun-hye earlier said her government wants to end, quote, a vicious cycle where the South appeases the North after its provocations. Let's now look at Rappler's Wrap for today, a list of the 10 most important events around the world you shouldn't miss. At number 5, U.S. President Barack Obama and Chinese President Xi Jinping and 2 days of talks in California with pledges of building a, quote, new model of major country relationship, despite remaining divided over the issue of cyber espionage. Senior officials from the meeting say Obama and Xi discussed climate change plans, North Korea, and cyber hacking charges. On North Korea, Obama's National Security Advisor Tom Donilon says, quote, neither country will accept North Korea as a nuclear-armed state, and both countries will work together to pressure Pyongyang to denuclearize. The talks revolve around American accusations of an alleged Chinese internet spying effort targeting military, commercial secrets, and intellectual property. Obama urges common rules of the road to protect against hacking. She responds by saying China was also, quote, a victim of cyber attacks. She adds he wants, quote, good faith cooperation to clear up misgivings by the United States about cybersecurity. At number 7, South Africans offer prayers as they wait Sunday for news of Nelson Mandela after the 94-year-old icon spent a second night in hospital in a serious but stable condition. There have been no updates since he was hospitalized early Saturday at a Pretoria hospital with a recurring lung infection. The Nobel Peace Laureate has been in and out of hospitals in recent years. On Sunday, the front page of South Africa's Sunday Times read, "It's time to let him go." Mandela's longtime friend, Andrew Mlangeni, tells the paper South Africans may have to say goodbye to their beloved icon. He says, quote, once the family releases him, the people of South Africa will follow. And at number 9, Rafael Nadal becomes the first man to capture the same Grand Slam title 8 times with his victory in the French Open final Sunday. Nadal claims his 12th major win with a win over his Spanish opponent David Ferrer. The win is Nadal's 59th out of 60 matches played in Paris. It's also his 7th title of 2013 after returning to the tour in February following a 7-month injury layoff. For the full top 10, visit Rappler.com's The Wrap. The Wall Street Journal reports Google is close to acquiring traffic information crowdsourcing app Waze. While no deal is completed yet, an announcement is expected as early as Tuesday. Reports say Waze will remain independent after the purchase. Israel Business News Daily Globes reports the deal to acquire the app could reach up to $1.3 billion. The Miami Heat use a sizzling run bridging the third and fourth quarters to get a 103-84 blowout win against the San Antonio Spurs in Game 2 of the NBA Finals. LeBron James, who finished the first half with only 4 points, is a major catalyst in Miami's huge run, tallying 17 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals, and 3 blocks. He teams up with point guard Mario Chalmers for crucial plays, helping put the Heat on top for good. Wingman Danny Green is the lone bright spot for the Spurs, hitting all 5 of his shots from three-point land. Every story on Rappler has a mood meter, which gives you 8 emotions to choose from. Click how you feel, and your vote comes down to the Mood Navigator. That's in the middle of the front page. It crowdsources the mood of the day. It also gives you the top 10 stories that have affected our readers the most. These are the stories that have gotten the most number of votes on their mood meters. If you take a look at the 10 stories on the Mood Navigator today, we have Pugad Baboy artist quits after suspension. That's 27% angry, 63% sad. And the story that's gotten the most number of votes has happened on Sunday. Artist opposed Pugad Baboy's suspension. You have 1% annoyed, 1% amused, 3% angry, 4% sad, 6% inspired, and a whopping 85% happy. You see the green mood of the day. Today, most people are happy. Well, that's Rappler's Newscast for today, Monday, June 10th, 2013. Visit Rappler.com and watch our newscast Monday to Friday. Tell us how you feel on our mood meter and help us crowdsource the mood of the day. I'm Maria Ressa. As we say at Rappler, tomorrow begins today.